Yeah, what's up, guys? How y'all doing? Okay, so, you know what I'm saying? We back. Um, I just wanted to go over something here, right? So, when it comes to, yeah, I mean, values, thumbnail, man. I'm telling you, doing like a whole bunch of small thumbnails, kind of like a comic book type of thing, that will give you so much practice in a small amount of time. I honestly think learning storyboarding is something anybody should do, whether you're a fine artist or a comic book guy. You know, I make movies, so I have to know storyboarding to a certain degree, to a certain extent, you know? And it really like helps you get your ideas across very quickly, especially also when you only use like two values. Okay, or well, yeah, two values. You gotta use two values, but yeah, you can do a lot with just two values if you really just work with it. I honestly think less is more when it comes to values at times. Anyway, so this is some really good practice. I'm just give you like an example of what I do. Right, it just helps me point out values really fast. This would be so much easier if I just, because I'm normally do stuff traditional. It's just it's so much easier if I just had that setup. I just don't have that type of setup right now to do it on paper. I don't know what I'm doing. What? Let's do that again. What? Okay, just do a box, right? You know, and then you'll have you just make a picture really. So you can do. I would suggest doing people if you're trying to focus on people. And I can't think of an idea right now. It's crazy. It's usually they come like really fast for me. That's what she said. Um, I can't think of one today for some reason. I don't know why. Now this is just a cartoon. Nothing has to be perfect here when it comes to the characters. Obviously, treat it like literally like a cartoon. Like you're I don't like that word doodling, but basically, I guess like you're doodling right now. Because that's not what you're worried about. You know, what you're worried about is putting value to this object. So we really need clean lines, but let me, you know what? Yeah, what the. What? Oh, I'm done. I'm tripping. No, I'm on the eraser. I'm not tripping. Okay. All right, we can work with that. We can work with that. You know what I mean? And then um, we got to make a shadow shape. And you know me, I'm gonna make a boring ass shadow shape to start off with. Really, no. I'm just doing boring shadow because we're doing just two values. There's no reason to make highlights or any of that. You're just doing. It's just gonna be light, dark, and we got white paper, so we're just doing the dark. Okay. Now we're not gonna be super dark, right? Because then you'll miss all the form. You know, the form goes away the darker you go. That's another thing I was gonna say. I think I actually already said this in another video, but crap, it goes, that's too dark. It's too dark. I need to be honestly much wider. Yeah, like that. There you go. I said this in another video, or maybe I didn't. If you're gonna do, and again, I ain't nobody, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But if you're going to do any type of shading, right, it's easier to I don't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, it's easier if you start off with light values. So if you have like a core shadow, right, just make it light, bro. Even if you have core shadows light like this, and you need to make a cast shadow, we know, or at least I think we know, that cast shadows are darker than normally than the core shadow. So this picture wouldn't have a core shadow with this person because the core shadow would be out of the frame. But let's just say if it was in frame, right? Then you could make the core shadow, like this is a 7 for opacity. Let's put it up to like 15. You know what I'm saying? This could be the core shadow. It still reads as a core shadow. It doesn't. Your values don't have to be like super dark. You know what I'm saying? It still reads as a core shadow to this character. You know what I mean? So it's just easier to work with that and then darken it afterward, you know, because the bigger, it's really contrast. The bigger the contrast, you know, I don't think I did that right, but the bigger the contrast between the light and the dark, the better. See, if you overdo this here, right, it's over modeling into the white. It looks bad, right? But then if you just do that one, oh wait, if you just do that one joint like that, and then one more, it looks kind of good. Still kind of like that halftone is still bleeding too much for my liking, but it still looks kind of okay. That didn't do much, but yeah. So I could be wrong on everything I just said there, so just letting you know. But that's how I see it. You know what I'm saying? And then too dark. Jesus Christ. Put that shit back at 7. What the hell am I doing? 7, 8. Bruh. 7. Okay. There we go. There she blows, right? And the back is lit up. So what you could do, right, even though we're just doing 2 values, what you could do is you can blend out this core shadow, or it's better, like if I'm doing traditional, like on paper, I'm just gonna hash it out. It's better for you to just hash, and because it gives you more control than to use like a blending stump. I personally wouldn't suggest ever using a blending stump, to be honest with you, but it gets the job done quicker if you just really need one, you know. But to just practice your values, your value changes, you know what I mean, like that, I feel is a more important thing, because that's a skill in its own that you're basically not practicing when you just blend stuff, I guess. Again, I guess. But yeah. See, boring shadow shape here. In reality, I would have highlight right here on the bicep. Maybe it's a highlight somewhere on the leg. Maybe a highlight on the side of the face here, right? And maybe somewhere in the clavicle on the end, like right here somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, we ain't doing none of that right now. We're just separating the light and the dark. So the dark, let's say dark's like right here, kind of. And then just it gets darker from there. I mean, lighter from there. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. Yeah, and then just do a gradient in the sky. It's all gradients, by the way. Once you realize that everything you do on an image is basically a gradient outside of the contour, it's all ends up being a gradient at the end of the day. Even when it comes to the cast shadow, as that penumbra shit, the highlight or whatever. So does not change. But again, I don't know. Who am I? Nobody. I really am nobody. I'm just a guy who is always interested in art. You know. All right. Even though those are different values, like I made like just with the opacity changes, I made multiple values here, but you're really just supposed to stick with like one. Like you're supposed to just stick with this one core, you know. But yeah, I didn't do that. Now let's do. See someone looking up while you're looking down at you. A giant trench coat on. All right. He has a trench coat on with a, well, I guess like a suit and tie on the inside. Jesus, what the fuck? What are we doing? What's going on? How does this get so? Let's bring it down. Oh, I'm in this other shit this way. Okay. See, I'm doing faces and you're supposed to do faces. Well, you can't. Yeah, you're looking for the shade of the face though. Okay. All right, and then Jesus, you do that right here. I guess the light's directly coming in this way. Yeah, and then you just don't be afraid to go black and just black it all out, you know? And then you make the interesting shapes when you make them. And go back in and put the highlights. That's how I do it. But again, if we're just doing it live, then I would probably do some shit like that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I probably did some shit like that. And then blended it. Terrible. I'm not doing good. Thought I was good at doing highlight shapes, guess I'm not. My goodness. What is happening today? This is bad. Well, it's okay. It just needs more form. Cause what is this? What is this even supposed to be? Like, what is this? Is this a part of the jacket? Like, what is that? Right? Um, but yeah. So under the neck would be a cast shadow. And then Proco says always put like some buildings or just objects or something behind it that can help you get the values right as well. It's crazy. This makes no sense. I forgot. I'm looking down. That's funny. Gotta love that perspective. Okay. If we're looking down, where does that horizon need to be at? Right. The horizon would be. Would it be higher or lower? I don't even remember. It would be lower. Yeah, because if it was higher, then what that looked like he'd be laying down on the ground. Yeah. Duh, yeah. So it's lower. It's lower. Yeah. Horizon's low. Okay. No, it's not how. I'm tripping. It gotta go like. Shit. It's like straight back. This is why we learn perspective, children. You know what I'm saying? This is why perspective is important. Jesus Christ. Doing perspective, it's usually not even as hard for. It's just is a kind of a difficult position for some reason. What's up with this? Fucking hell, I'm failing. Yeah, I don't know about that shit. I gotta look into that one. Because that perspective, that amount of perspective I haven't been privy to yet. Jesus. Okay. Alright, let's try this guy, right? Alright, so this is a back. That guy, I guess, is looking down here, right? So what would be the values here? I would do. Where's the light coming in first? Let's just do like right here, right? There we go. There we go. Because if it's going straight, then. Well, it's actually not going straight, it's going kind of sideways. So we can do that. A straight light is just really, I think, highlighting the muscles. All of the muscles, you know, uh, adding dark to each muscle, I guess. I don't know. You know, that's like trying to make a straight character, like a character with like no action, no line of action, really. Trying to make that interesting. I really don't know. But because this arrow is partially curved, it's kind of my Saved by the Bell here. So that was a good show back then. But yeah, everything's a gradient, guys. Everything's a gradient. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Call me Steve O. I'm a wild boy, and I need hoes. You know what I'm saying? Okay, that's bad, but you know, it's something. Let's see what this nasty blend will look like. It'll be terrible. It's awful. Ugh. Goodness gracious. Sometimes I question why I'm born. Like, look at this. Jesus. Alright. Whatever. Yeah, but you get the drift. What I'm saying is make thumbnail sketches, man. And then just start light, you know, on the body, right? And yeah, hold on. Start light, not light enough. 5, right? And then broad. You know, and look at that. Highlights already made for you. uh, so that's something. Another thing I need to work on is my hands. You know, I read that Andrew Loomis book, Drawing the Head and Hands. This nigga, Andrew Loomis, bro. He basically say, after drawing the head, right, he goes through that in depth. And then like, you're reading the book, not just looking at the pictures. This man basically tells you, hey, I don't know how to draw no hands. Like, it's really what he says. And out of all that mumbo jumbo that he talks about, he's very, like, poetic with how he speaks. Kind of reminds me of Steven Zapata. I really bring his name up a lot, don't I? Very poetic when he speaks, and then this man basically was like, yeah, when it comes to hands, my nigga, you on your own, guys. Look at your own hands and figure it out. The end. End of the book. But I could be wrong. I don't remember. That might not have been it. But that's what I remember from so far. Woo, these are terrible hands. Ugh, God. But yeah. Where would the light be in this thing? Light be here. So that means this would be a little bit shadow. Same goes up here a little bit. It would still show though, and then this would be like pushed back a little bit. It wouldn't be as defined there. Get the tricep showing a little bit. Again, that's another reason why you need to know anatomy, right? I don't really know it like that myself. I'm learning, but I know a thing or two, right? Like, you know. Oh, another thing, it's good to label. Please keep labeling stuff when you learn anatomy, bro. So you're basically getting acquainted with it. You don't have to learn. I mean, you don't have to label everything, but just like, you know, main masses like this, like deltoid, you know. And deltoid, I believe, is like 3 split muscles in there like that. Which is good once you understand muscle pattern is basically why that's basically the same as understanding the planes of the head, right? Like, that's kind of the whole reason to understand that, so you'll know how to shade around it to where it looks convincing. Now, deltoid, see, deltoid, and then right, got the bicep, triceps, right? You got your elbow, where that's where. Let me draw out the because this is important to know. You know. Oh wait, I'm tripping. Hold on. Hold on, I'm drawing clavicles and shit. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let me do that. I'll do that. You know, bones right there, and then your two bones right here. They come together, and they make a bone. You know, and all of this in terms of size, right? Clavicle should be the same size as the arm minus the deltoid, the upper arm minus the deltoid, and then the lower arm minus the wrist or hand. So your clavicle will be like that, and then you'll have the joint in the back here. And then not joint. What's it called? I don't remember what this shit called, bro. I don't remember what it's called. Oh my god, scapula. Yeah. You'll have this, which is the deltoid. I don't know how long deltoids are. I've been looking into it. I'm not sure yet. Arm, right? You gotta make sure you show the bicep and tricep. You don't have to show these like that, though. This is cartoony type shit. Usually people don't. It's just usually just like kind of more so straight down, kind of like that, in more like a realistic sense of it. But your bicep would be right there. Tricep right here. It's not exactly like that at all. These are just the big forms, right? You have to really like go and look at it yourself. But these are the bigger forms. You know, it's something like that, but definitely not exactly like that. And then you'll have a whole bunch of muscles wrap around down here from the elbow. There is like this thing back here that connects onto the elbow that goes all the way down to the wrist. I don't know what the fuck it is though. But yeah, it's a thing. Hold on. Yeah, just like that. So, and that's how you do it. You know, you got the ulna bone and the radius bone, and they'll twist, and that's the part that fucks me up, right? They'll do some dumbass shit like this. You know what I'm saying? And I'm supposed to know what the fuck that means, right? I think it's like supinated, pronated. I don't know, nigga. Don't get me lying. I think this is the one where your hand is, because it has to twist. So normally it's not like that. So yeah, it'll twist and your arm will be like, your thumb will be like over here. No. Yeah. This is the right arm. So yeah. Yeah. Totally forgot to make a. I always do that. I just go straight for the fingers. Totally forgot to actually make that. But whatever. This is twisted out. So the person's like, hold up. This is the right arm. I'm tripping. The thumb's on the outside if it's twisting outward like that. Or in, well, yeah. The thumb would be twisting outward, and then these would be crossed. Yeah. But that shit don't really matter, bro. It really don't. Unless you're showing showing the twist of the muscle that's connected to the bone. That's what matters. That's what really matters. The bone could just be these lines, honestly. But the muscle connected to the bones, that's what shows that you know what you're doing. You know. But yeah, man. These are studies that I do. I would suggest whenever you have time, break down these forms and see what's underneath. You know, if it's a box, pay attention to the planes of the box. Right? It's only 4. Right? Or am I dumb? Okay, yeah. There's only 4 planes on a box. So it's easier to understand, obviously, than planes on a head. But you can practice that with like die, you know? Like a 64 side die or some crazy shit. I don't think it's 64, but however many sides. Those are just planes. You know, like this is easier to understand than see, this is easier to understand than this oblong shape here. I was trying to make a die, but that would have been too hard. So yeah, you can practice planes and shading planes, starting with basic geometric shapes, as usual. You know what I'm saying? So that's all there is to it. And go do it. I'm out. I'm about to go to sleep. I'm tired.